Well, welcome back to Voices Rising. And today I'm going to be sharing my life motto, or the motto that I live by, which is decisions create momentum. And one of the biggest things that I've seen, and I also speak from my heart when I talk about this, this motto, because I'm kind of living in it right now, is that the decisions you make are going to create the momentum that you want in your life. And, being in the hot seat today, I feel a lot of pressure to talk about this, but at the same time, I feel a lot of liberation. And having gone through making a very major decision in my career, I just feel liberated. I feel like there's finally momentum. I feel like there's finally a track to run on. And at 40 years old, I'm doing things I never thought I would do. So I think when I really think about it, when decisions really are coming to us, we always think that, okay, like I have to have more information. I have to have more time. When really it's not about that, having more time. It's really saying, okay, what actually has to change? Because I personally don't always think that decisions are just stuff that's just going to pop up. It usually comes up for a long time. I feel like, again, it's like a lot of women, when we speak to women, they're just like, I just want this to happen. I know, Linda, we talked about hope isn't a strategy, and I feel like it speaks a lot to decisions.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the byproduct of hope is not a strategy, is really the decision-making process. And women will say, I'm stuck, I'm this, I'm that. And it's like, really, no, you're just paused by indecision.
Yeah.
Right? You're paused by indifference. And momentum doesn't come from motivation. It comes from making decisions.
Say that again. So momentum?
Momentum doesn't come from motivation. It comes from decisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
that's action.
yes, and it's action. So I actually broke it down. I have an acronym that I really follow when it comes to making decisions, and I want to share that with you all today. So the framework, when I talk about this, with clients, or even when I talk about, decisions creating momentum online, it really just is about, how can we keep it as simple and clean as possible, right? Let's remove the overwhelm. Let's remove the confusion. Let's just get really clear. So it's really the first D is define the decision. So what is it that you're actually avoiding? And not the story, not the fear. What is the decision? So stop telling yourself what the story is that you want it to be or that you hope it should be. What is the fear that comes with it as well, right? So I really talk about this. If I prompt a client, I'll say, if I had to name it in one sentence, your decision is what? Again, keep it simple, keep it streamlined. The E is expose the costs of not deciding, because everything has a cost. Everything has a cost. And this is where I feel the breakthrough, especially for me, where this came from. Because what is the cost of staying at a place that I no longer feel valued, that I no longer feel actually provides the growth that I'm looking for and provides the value that I'm looking for?
When I used to say, too, to entrepreneurs, if you're in the exact same spot 5 years from now, what is the cost to your family? What's the cost to you? And if maybe it's okay. Maybe that works for you. But if it doesn't, then you have to create a decision and have momentum and move forward.
I agree.
Is not necessarily monetary,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
You make a list of costs, emotional, physical, financial. So
That's
all
it.
of that cost. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So then we're going to keep going. C, choose from identity, not emotion. We talk a lot about this. So it's really thinking about who you're becoming and not who you've been. And we talk about this a lot in creating habits or being the woman that you want to be. A lot of people are stuck because they can't change their identity. The identity is glued to who they think they are now, not who they actually want to be. So it's really saying, the woman who I am would choose what? And that could even be choosing yourself, right? Next is the I, initiate your first move. So not just the whole plan, it's really just the first clean action. So what you talked about, Linda, action, right? It's like the first action that you're going to take in the next 48 hours is what?
Yeah.
Right? What are you going to do? And again, momentum starts small, but it compounds fast. D, detach from perfect. And I say this as the millennial that I am. And I think that with our generation, we were told for years, you go to school, you get the job, you have the education, you get the job, the picket fence, you're set, right? It's going to be perfect from here on out. And even online, I see a lot of millennials like they're struggling right now because it's like, okay, my identity is not who I thought I was going to be. I have to reevaluate. So that's why so many of us are leaving the corporate world, because we're realizing that our ambition, what we actually want, is completely different than what we were told or led to believe, right?
I think perfection is not attainable. You need to focus on excellence, but perfection is not realistic.
Yeah. Like I feel like I'm a recovering perfectionist, 100%. And again, it's like, it's critical for high achieving women, right? We've seen this all the time.
Let it go.
People think it has to be perfect. So it's not overthinking, not rewriting, and no emotional spirals, right? It's not that. And then the E, the last E, is evaluate emotion. And this is where I feel like this builds self-trust. And I don't think we talk about self-trust enough as women. We don't talk about it enough. So it's not waiting to feel confident. It's moving and adjusting at the same time. That's how I feel it works.
When you only get confidence by moving, when you move, momentum and creates that confidence by doing it over and over and over again. That's how you build the confidence.
That's it. Evaluate after the actions that you're taking. So that's the framework that I personally use. I feel comfortable using it. And again, it's like, we talked a lot about putting pen to paper, or if you're just somebody who's, doing the work yourself, it's constantly moving and evaluating. And you're going to see that momentum is going to build very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think too, in a lot of ways, the decisions that you're delaying, you already know what the answers are, whether that's a year, 2 years. And I think that's probably what I've learned a lot in the past year is that the decisions that I've delayed, I probably should have made them a little bit sooner than what I have.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to me to hear you speak as a millennial, because my 3 grown adult children would be millennials. And I do see that, probably, I don't know over how many years, maybe over the last 5 or 6, or even since COVID, where the world really changed. And now a lot of the political situation around the world, their world has really changed. And I see that, is this all there is? Is this what I'm going to have to be doing? I've got another 20, 25 years in the workforce. Is it the same old grind? And then I see the grandchildren who kind of have given, will I ever own a home? But those things can change with making a decision. If you're just going to, sit there and say, well, is this all there is? Well, no, there can be more, but you have to be willing to step up and make those decisions.
That's it.
I think, I'm coming at it a little bit differently. I agree with everything everybody's saying, because a decision does create momentum. One of the things I observed in leadership and management was my weakest managers would not make decisions.
Yes.
And that holds up so many things. It creates so many problems in an organization. I used to always say, make a decision. Even if it's a bad one and we learn from it, we've gained something. But when you don't make a decision quickly, you slow back your employees, you slow back the goals. I was very quick at making decisions, and sometimes they were gambles and sometimes it didn't always work. But boy, when you don't make a decision, it's the worst thing you can do, because it creates inconsistency in your organization. It creates things that people can't trust. They needed to know that you would make a decision quickly so that they could go on and do their job. So I totally agree with you, because a decision forces you to do something. It forces an action.
That's it.
Any action. You think about kids that have anxiety. You think about a child that doesn't want to do something. The minute they try it, they gain confidence. It's like stretching a Band-Aid or an elastic band that says, oh, I can do this because I have more confidence. But I think the biggest thing that frustrates me, people that will not make a decision. I mean, there's nothing worse than going shopping with somebody and saying, well, I know it's there. Oh God, just make the decision.
That's it.
Right?
Like,
I can't stand
like
that.
What's the hang up? If you just buy both, like
what's the risk?
That's it. Just buy it. You got 30 days to return it. no stress. Like, what's
What's
the
the
hang up?
risk?
Like, I don't get
I
it.
went shopping with one of my friends years ago. She was looking for a bathing suit. Well, you know how just stressful
Oh,
that
it's
can
depressing
be.
anyways.
Pure
So
horror.
I didn't need
Pure
a bathing
horror.
suit. So she's in the dressing room and I'm running back and forth. So 2 hours later, she walked out the dress. I'm not going to buy a bathing suit today. I could have choked her.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
So,
going through
no
all the
decision.
trouble.
Yeah. No
Yeah.
decision is
Yeah.
a bad decision.
I
That's right.
agree.
Bad
It's
decision.
so
and
painful.
My
Mhm.
husband taught me a very important lesson early on that I often think about when it comes to decisions, because I would find it difficult. For that fear, I was a bit of a perfectionist back at the beginning. And it's, well, what if it's the wrong one? He'd say, Marcia, there is no such thing as a wrong decision. It is just a decision.
That's it.
If you don't like where that decision takes you,
You make
then you
another one.
make another decision.
Mhm.
But to be stuck in that indecision is stressful, and the people around you are affected by it too. So
Yep.
especially in a leadership
Yeah, I
role
think
like
in
Absolutely.
leadership in life,
Mhm.
you have
Yeah.
to make decisions, and
Yep.
you just have to be willing to learn from them. And I
That's
think that's
it.
the key. I mean, you know how I used to
Mhm.
work. We could
Yep.
mess things. I used to always say we don't go into work today to mess things up
No,
for the
no.
for the field or the employees.
Mhm.
Sometimes we just make a bad decision, but
Yep.
if you admit it, you're transparent about
Absolutely.
it, and move forward,
Mhm.
nobody's going to get hurt.
Well, I think in this, like when I talk about decisions too, and I think just having gone through this, major decision that I made, we put so much emotion to it. We build it up even bigger than what
Then it is.
than it is. Like it really is a molehill. It's not this huge, mountain that we think that it is, and we put too much stock into it. And I agree, Linda. I mean, Linda is the quickest decision maker on the planet. Okay, I'm just going to say that. And that's what I've learned the most from you. And I remember sitting in that boardroom, one of the first days that, or I would say probably within the first, before COVID hit, when we actually could sit in the boardroom. I remember we were talking about, a massive event, and you could tell that there was a lag in decisions being made, and you were brought in, and it was just like, yes, no, no, yes. And I mean, to see a woman, hold her power, make that decision, and sit at that table, for me, it was one of the most inspiring things to see.
Well, I think as leaders or anybody that wants to lead, your job, if you have people that are following you, your job is to remove the blockers.
I agree.
Your job is to remove the things that prevent them from achieving the goal that you want them to achieve.
Yep.
And as a leader, you have to make those decisions. It's like in your family. It could, if you're in your family, you have to make decisions that, I think recently the power went out, right? And at my house it was out for 3 days. I have an 89-year-old mom at home. On the second day, when the house is 10 degrees, I had to put my foot down and go, we're leaving the house and going to a hotel.
That's right.
She did not want to leave. She enjoyed lying in her bed like this and staying under the covers. I was done, right? But you have to make decisions quickly and do what's right and remove the blocker. We weren't going to stay in a cold house.
Yep.
Same thing in business. You have to make those decisions sure your people can
I agree.
execute.
Yes.
I mean, the biggest thing, I remember when people would go on mat leave and all of a sudden they'd be reporting to me and they'd go, boy, you make a decision quick.
Yeah.
Well, because I want you to go do your job. If I don't make the
That's
decision
it.
quickly, you can't go do what you need to do.
That's it. And it's wild how people come to that point, or if you are somebody who makes very quick decisions because you know what you like and what you don't like. And I'd like to think I make very quick decisions. And I've seen you do, and I've learned a lot from you. It's painful to actually watch
It
somebody
is.
sit
Yes.
there. And I think too, when we look at, top leaders in in the industry, in our business, and you see them just wallowing and not taking, it's like if you made a decision to just bypass the wallowing, chalk it up to experience and move on to the next step, you'd be on fire. Like the momentum you're looking for, the freedom you're looking for, the emotional release of it all, like it would be there if you allowed yourself, and if you made the decision, you know what, I went through this crap, but if I just took the next step forward, like I'm just going to choose to move on and move forward.
Well,
and
you think of the great entrepreneurs, they've made a million mistakes. A
Absolutely.
million mistakes. And,
Yeah.
and they've learned from them. But every time they made a mistake, they stopped. They wouldn't be able to move forward in their businesses. I mean, there's stories of great leaders that were turned down 10, 20 times, but that 21st time, then all of a sudden it worked.
Yeah.
That's it.
One of the strategies, I guess we can put that label to it, that I used on a weekly basis was every Friday at noon, I would not leave the house. That was my afternoon before the kids came home from school. That was the time when I would look back, not at my life, I'd look back at my week and go, did I do what I had accomplished? What, and did it work or did it not work? You have to be honest with yourself. And then what is it that I want to accomplish in the coming week? And then make a decision. That Friday, it was 3 hours in my week that would write off things that weren't working. It's like, we're not going to keep doing that, because you keep doing the same thing is not going to get you. It's going to keep getting you what you've already got. And you don't want it, so you got to do something different. So make a decision about what your following week needs to look like. Right. So you don't have to make these huge, monthly. Well, maybe you do monthly. I mean, you guys lived in a very different world. The corporate world is more long term. I think the entrepreneurial world that I had to work with was really daily. I mean, I can't speak for you. I know you had to do daily stuff, but you also
But you always had to examine.
Yes, you always had to examine. And if decisions aren't if it's not getting you where you want to go, then make a different decision. But I think it's important to set aside a time every week to do that thinking. I don't know if we try to do decisions on the fly. We do it when we're, in bed at night and we're trying to go to sleep and we can't sleep because we got this. When you actually sit down, I would block time off. Whether you're working in a corporate world, whether you're working in just a manual labor job, life is busy and things are thrown at you. Because when I learned to make a decision, what I would, and we can worry about things, I would set aside time to worry about something. I say, now label it worry. I would go, I am not going to think about that until Friday afternoon at 1.
And that's a decision right there.
And that's exactly right. I never saw that. Yeah, that's a decision. Because the way our lives are, everybody's lives are, and men are quite different because they can put things in a box and put the lid on it. And, there's this cute story of this couple. Do we have time to talk about that story? It's a quick story. This couple that were engaged to be married, but they had to go see this counselor before, just some pre-marriage counseling. So the psychiatrist says to the wife, says to the man, like, listen, your wife's brain or your future wife's brain is very different. Think of a bowl of spaghetti. Everything is connected. The kids, her job, her relationship with you, her mother, everything is all this tangle of things. Nothing is separated. So when you talk to her, you have to understand that she might be thinking about this. When you're talking about that, you have to give her time. So that's okay. You understand that. And then he turns to the wife and he says, let me understand how your future husband's brain works. Inside his head, he has all these boxes. And when he gets up in the morning, he opens the first box. How's my relationship? Is my wife good? My kid? Everything's fine. Having a great home life. Shuts the lid on the box. Goes to the next box. Goes to work. Does my boss like me? Do I like my salary? Yeah, everything's going great. Shuts the lid to the box. Then he goes to his favorite box. And it's the empty box. So, and inside that box, he doesn't have to think about anything. So when you're talking to him, he's not answering. He's in the empty box. And you have to understand that that's how men generally, and whenever I tell that little story to men, they go, oh yeah, I have an empty box. Yeah. They're watching their sports or whatever. That's the empty box. And the men understand the women. So when it comes to making these decisions, when I was very, very busy, I had to untangle that brain. And I had to do more like how the men handled things, which is the individual boxes. You can put the lid on it. I am not, because that's what keeps us up at night. These decisions that we have to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put it in a box and assign a time to it. I'm going to think about that, and I'm going to make that decision Friday at 1. Monday night a date night with my husband or whatever that may be. We're going to, you and your husband have this event. I think it's your quarterly meeting is fantastic. We do. And I'm sure you make quarterly meeting. You make decisions in those quarterly meetings.
We do. And sometimes they're not great. Sometimes they're awesome, right? It's the way of life. And like to give some context to what we do is we pack up the dog, we go to a trail that's, within the local city that we live in. And we really talk about finances, what are the goals, what do we want to accomplish? Like we're very goal oriented people. And for us, it fires us up. And of course, we're getting the dog up too for exercise and everything else. And you guys know me very well. I believe walking can cure anything. So it's really, again, it's like, I love how you describe that, between men and women and just how there's a generalization there. And then also, the capacity and the container. Like I think everybody has a certain amount of capacity, but the container might be smaller or bigger. So it's very similar to what you're talking about.
I think it's brilliant because it just breaks down the confused mind.
Yeah.
Because so many times as women, we're sitting there in that quiet zone and we're thinking about a million other things. Oh, I got to do this. And then there's this, but that just really breaks it down. I'm going to deal with this. That's
I like
powerful.
That. Yeah, no, it is. It's great, Marcia.
This makes me laugh. I had a young, I had this young woman that, we had an appointment at 9:00 and she was running late. She came in, she was all frazzled, but she had, like a 6-month-old baby and a 2.5-year-old. And I was like, what, like, is something wrong? Are you okay? She said, you would not believe my morning. I said, what? She said, well, I got up, I changed the baby's diaper, and then I had to, the 2-year-old needed a bath, and then, she spilled her cereal, and then the baby needed changing again, and I had to make my husband's lunch, and so the story is going on. And you, as women, we all recognize what goes on in the household when you have bigger kids, little kids, or whatever. And I said, well, where was your husband? Marcia, he got up, asked me if I'd packed his lunch, gave me a kiss goodbye, and left. So, but that's, and that's just how men can operate like that. But we are all tangled up in all of that.
Absolutely.
And, is some of that what we've created? Because I know I come from not so much because I was, determined to have someone that did as much as I did in the household with the kids, who willingly did more than I did with the kids. But, part of that is, generational too. I think
for sure
is changing.
The traditional roles in the relationship. Yeah.
Yes. I was very fortunate to not have, I had someone who was willing to do above and beyond even what I ever did at the home in the home with kids.
That's a whole other topic.
I was going to say, I feel the same way. I'm very grateful. I have, my husband, he is not the traditional, he cooks, he cleans, he does all the things, and I'm busy, doing whatever I'm doing. And so I feel there is a freedom there as well, that you don't wear, the traditional hats, or you can switch hats.
Yes.
Right? When you're in different seasons in your life. And
yeah,
but that is a whole different topic.
That's a
absolutely.
whole other, because I'm the divorced one. Okay, so I come at it from a very different, but a lot of what I learned was my power in business and my power in leadership. I didn't always translate into the home, so I wasn't good at asking for what I needed. So I created some of my own problems there, right, by not asking for what I really needed or standing up for what I needed. So that's I think that's a whole. I do think it's another good episode to talk about some of those lessons that we've learned in the home, and some of those key things that have been very successful for you two in your marriages that I wish we had done. That would have been very helpful. But as women, we take our mind gets so confused because we have so many things going on. But I do think that whole thing of making a decision, just making the decision and moving, is key.
Well, I think it's a lot of people will say, and we've heard this, we've had a lot of people say, how can I get momentum, right? Momentum is a huge buzzword. We know that it's kind of cliche in many ways, but momentum is a real thing. Like taking that momentum, building that quantum leap that you're looking for in your business. Well, guess what? That's only going to come from you and the decision you're making with the energy that you're bringing. So when someone says to me, well, how am I going to build momentum? Like, how do I get traction, right? How can I make change within a certain amount of time? And I say, okay, well, what decisions are you making daily that are actually enabling you towards your goal? And which ones are you not even conscious, what's that, unconsciously making that is actually hindering your progress? Like, what are you settling for and deciding to settle for because that's probably where the secret sauce is of what's actually going on and where you need to change things.
And when you have momentum, there's nothing like it.
Oh my God. You
It's
feel
just
like
you're
you're
flying.
flying.
You're
Like you are
flying.
literally in the quantum field. Like and you feel it. And I think that's so important, Linda, because people say,
feeling.
yeah, like, how do I know that I have
know.
momentum? You know it. You literally feel like nothing can stop you. It is, I'd say it's probably one of the best feelings.
Yeah, because the fact that you have to ask the question tells you don't
Yeah.
have what you need.
Yeah.
Yep.
How closely connected is momentum to motivation?
I
That's
always
a
say
good
motivation
question.
is like a bath that doesn't last.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to
It's
keep
the
investing
best.
in it, right?
You do.
You have to
do.
keep investing in it.
It's like going to the gym. You want to
Right,
have,
yeah.
the body, the aesthetics
Yeah.
you want. Well, anybody who's a bodybuilder, they still work out 5-6 days a week. And I think it's like what we say in bodybuilding is, do you want to be a bodybuilder or do you want to be competitive? Those are two different things. So it's like, are you still in your off season? Are you still going to work out 5 days a week? Or are you still going to be sticking to your meal plan? Are you still going to be getting 8 hours of sleep? So again, it's like, I kind of relate it to that in many ways, right? Because really motivation, you guys are probably going to laugh me saying it, but I'll say it as a millennial. Motivation is a fuckboy. Like, it's not the actual relationship you're looking for.
Right.
Now, I will say,
So
I've
that's
never
what
heard
it
that
is.
term. Hang out with Rachelle for a while.
That's what it is, right?
See,
Like, they're fun in the moment, but they don't last, right? Like, they're cute,
Okay.
whatever, but they
I
don't
don't
last.
know. I've been married for 52
I don't know,
years.
where are they?
Oh, Rachelle, you crack me up.
That's all I want.
Hey, it's fun, right? Like, it's the fun time. It's the motivation.
yeah,
You're
but
in it,
doesn't
right?
stick around.
It doesn't stick around, right?
Yeah.
So it just doesn't.
I think no, it does. It does not, and you have to keep. But that's again, I go back to the 5 o'clock club. That's where you keep that once you get motivation, and then now I see it in a different way as momentum. I've never really used that word, but I would stay motivated by going over all of those things at 5 o'clock. But keep the moment. I like that.
Well, and I think it's understanding that you have to readjust. You're not always going to have this feeling all the time. You're not always going to have momentum. So when that stops, then what do you do? How do you rebuild that momentum, right?
Yep.
You're going to go through hills and valleys. And that's what life is about. But it's learning how to come out of that hill and valley. And it's learning how to manage it when you're in it.
Yes.
Like it's really easy to do it when we're on the highs.
Yes.
But how do you manage yourself when you're in that low period? And the key is, how do you get out of it? And successful people get it out of it quicker.
I agree.
Because you make a decision and you.
And you're asking yourself the right questions.
Yes.
They're not asking 6 months ago when you said, how do I build momentum? They're not asking 6 months from now, how do I build momentum?
That's it.
They're getting out of it quicker.
And I think too, and I know this probably might sound a bit new age, but I do think it's a question of energy and knowing what gives you energy in your business. And because people will say, how are you getting through a slump or whatever? It's like, well, focus on the things that are giving you energy. Like going out for a walk for 20 minutes, that's going to give you energy, not scrolling on your phone, right? Being on Facebook for hours a day, that's not going to give you energy. So think about the things that it could be a phone call, with somebody who you're collaborating with. Like think about, it could be a great cup of coffee if you're me, right? What are those things that's going to bring energy into your day? Because that's what changes everything in the momentum piece.
On that same topic, how often do you need to recharge yourself? Our job,
that's so good,
and I
Marcia.
can't speak for men. They give in different ways, and they get burned out as well. And I don't want to, discount any of that. I can only talk as a woman. That I had to learn. First of all, what did I need to do? We're always giving a piece of ourselves away. Okay.
Yeah.
We give a piece of ourselves to our husbands. We give it to our job. We give it to our boss. We give it to our children, our friends, our neighbors. There's always a little bit that you're giving away, especially as working in a field with people and as an entrepreneur, it's a life of service. So again, you're always serving other people. So that little piece of you is taken away every day.
Right.
So how do I get that back?
Yeah.
And how much can I give so that I don't burn out? And how often do I need to do it? So I learned about myself I knew I got my cup filled from my husband, from the music I listened to, from family. I'm very family's hugely important. So I had to turn everything off, and I knew what I could get from my husband. I knew that the side of him that was a piece missing from me, that I could draw from that. I would watch. I have another friend who could work for 3 weeks, and then she had to take a 5-day weekend off. Okay. And then I had another friend who could go flat out for 60 days, no, probably 90 days. And then it was a holiday in Mexico, 10 days in Mexico.
Wow.
So each one of us is different. The one that went to Mexico, she was high energy. She could actually work for the 90 days flat out. I was like, I'm going to Mexico in the sun, because that's what filled her cup. So how much can you give? How much are you giving? What do you need to fill your cup to get that energy back so you can keep the momentum or motivated, however you're going to label that. It's two different things. And what is it that you have to do? And how are you going to get it?
Yeah.
The music, walking in nature is important. Like walking for you, Rachelle and I were talking. We're both Tauruses. We're like feet on the ground. Grounded. Maybe that's why.
That's probably what it is.
Forests, trees. I love that.
We ground. Yeah, it's our grounding. Yeah.
So it's important that you think about those things and because we see women that are exhausted. Well, again, we're back. They're not taking care of themselves. Yeah. But that's part of the taking care.
Yes, the self-care piece that we talked about. Yeah.
So know how much you can give. And, I had to fill my cup weekly.
Yeah.
Other people.
And no one else is going to fill
No
your
one
cup.
else is going to do it for you.
Yeah. You got to figure it out.
Yeah. It makes me think about, one of the top leaders, in the business that I think all three of us actually know her. She talks about having a goal every 90 days. So every 3 months, right? What are you doing? And I think it's just, once I heard that was a really big piece for me 2 years ago. It just kind of, something snapped inside me, and I was like, wow, every 90 days to have a goal, that's a way to have clear momentum, right? Because you have 4 quarters in that year. Think about what you can do in 90 days. Think about what you can do in that 12 months. That's crazy. To have, that's momentum. That you be traveling at the speed of sound, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting now being retired and figuring out what my goals are. And I have goals. I mean, there's things that I want to accomplish. There's things that I want to do. I mean, in my golf and my, Pilates and the things that travel. But it's exciting. You still have to have that energy and still have that focus of improvement and growth.
Absolutely.
I come from that generation that, we're very loyal. We had the same jobs our entire lives. You just had a job for 40, 50 years. That was the same job. The system that now is crumbling, the boomers kind of created that system, and now we're watching it all crumble. I see grandchildren that are very disillusioned. And you do have to. We never had to do it. I guess I'm doing it now at 70, but I see the younger people like your age and the 30 and 25-year-olds that are having to reinvent themselves. Yeah. So it's important you stop and think, I don't have to be at this job that I'm just struggling with or whatever for the rest. No. What do they say, these younger kids? Well, some of them will have jobs that haven't even been invented now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's whole industries that are content creation, podcasting. These are industries that never really existed, or people didn't think you could make an honest living from it, right? Or you can make a living in general. Yeah. And now you have people who are multimillionaires, right? And
very young ages.
Yeah, very young ages, and they're so happy and they're inspiring. So many generations and people around them that you don't have to stick to that traditional route, right? Yeah. So there is success out there, and it looks different in all kinds of ways, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good note to end on, ladies.
I think it's a great note.
Amazing.
So action.
Decision. That's right. Decisions create momentum. And we hope that you let us know what decisions you're making, if the framework works, if you resonate with anything. We'd love to know, so leave some comments below, and we'll talk to you all very soon. Bye.
Bye.